since winning the US election, there's been an awful lot of speculation about what the new Trump administration will look like. We're starting to get a clearer idea. Tom Homan will serve as border czar, and the New York Congresswoman Elise Stefanik will be ambassador to the UN. And in the biggest appointment yet, Trump will reportedly make Senator Marco Rubio Secretary of State. So what will this mean for US foreign policy? We can talk to Julia Manchester, a politics reporter for The Hill. Julia, very good afternoon from us. Can you just paint us a little portrait of Marco Rubio?
Good afternoon. Yes, Marco Rubio has been a major figure in Florida politics, really for well over a decade. He served in the state legislature and then was a part of the Tea Party movement that really swept Congress in 2010, 2 years after former President Obama was elected. So he was seen as one of these rising young conservative stars back in the 2010s. And in 2016, launched a presidential bid, famously battled it out with former President Trump. At one point, Donald Trump nicknamed Marco Rubio, who was his rival at the time, Little Marco. They certainly exchanged a number of insults on the campaign trail. But once former President Trump, now President-elect Trump, wrapped up the presidential nomination in 2016, Marco Rubio fell in line, and he's become one of Trump's staunchest allies, really going back to his first administration in 2017. He's seen as someone, even though he has ties to the Trump wing of the party, he's seen as being, I don't want to say more centrist, but he has ties to the non-Trump wing of the party as well. He has worked with Democrats on the Senate Intelligence Committee. He has, very much worked in terms of that foreign policy across the aisle on Capitol Hill. But in terms of foreign policy, I would say he is a conservative. He is a hardliner, a staunch supporter of Israel. And that's sort of this pattern we're seeing with a number of Trump's appointments, like Rubio and also Congresswoman Stefanik.
Yes, yeah. So it's not the kind of far out appointment that some people might have feared, Julia, is it? And I wonder whether you can tell us a little bit more about where Rubio might stand on NATO. Is he somebody who might continue the existing alliances of America?
Yeah, it's not a far out appointment at all. In fact, I think there's some members of Trump's wing of the party who might be a little unhappy with the appointment of Rubio. I think Rubio could potentially offer a more moderate vision in terms of, how the U.S. approaches NATO. I don't want to say he'll necessarily be a check on Trump. Ultimately, the president is the person who makes those decisions. It's his administration. But I think Rubio has a relationship, as in his role as chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee, or a ranking member of the Senate Intelligence Committee, in terms of his work with other countries. I think he might offer a more moderate approach. He does talk about the importance of America first and really putting the American economy first. That's how President Trump and his allies would, phrase it. But at the same time, I think he also understands the importance of, American relationships with a number of these countries. I think Rubio has put out a very pro-Ukraine sentiment and an anti-Russia sentiment. So I think his appointment comes as a relief in many ways.
Yeah, it's interesting what you told us there, Julia, about the fact that Rubio and Trump have not always seen eye to eye in the past. And, it's easy for us to make a caricature of Donald Trump as, the guy that always has to win everything. But is the appointment of somebody who he once fell out with but has now got more respect for again telling us something more about Trump?
I think Trump is someone who values loyalty. And after we saw in 2016 Trump become the nominee, we saw Rubio fall in line behind Trump, and he's been in line ever since. He's taken, I would say, maybe a bit more tempered, moderate stance in his role in the Senate. You oftentimes see that among Senate Republicans. But at the same time, he is seen as a big ally to Trump, particularly politically in the state of Florida. Remember, Marco Rubio is a Cuban American. Cubans have been integral in Florida becoming a red state, and Donald Trump winning the state by 3 points in 2020 and then winning it by 13 points in 2024 just last week. So Donald Trump recognizes the value in someone like Marco Rubio. I think there's this attitude among certain parts of the MAGA wing, among people, maybe you could say like Elon Musk, for example, who would, want to make this overall very pro-Trump movement. But I think there are more tempered voices like Rubio who understand that it's a bit more complicated than that.
And Julia, is there anybody whose nose has been really put out of joint by this appointment? Somebody who thought, actually, that's my position, mate?
Um, well, the one person who we're hearing some whispers that he's a bit annoyed with this. I don't think he was expecting to get this appointment, but Robert F. Kennedy Jr. apparently was not, or reportedly was not happy about this decision. He was hoping it would be someone maybe more populist, more Trumpian, if you will. There were other contenders for this position, including former Ambassador Rick Grinnell. But I think in general, a lot of us were expecting Rubio to get some sort of major pick in the Trump administration. Remember, Rubio was on that short list to become Trump's vice presidential pick. Of course, Trump picking Senator J.D. Vance instead. But also, J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio have differing views on foreign policy. I would say that J.D. Vance is much more of an America first, maybe, some his critics would say isolationist. I don't know if Rubio falls into that category.
Good to talk to you, Julia. We appreciate your expertise. That's Julia Manchester, who is a politics reporter for The Hill.
It says everything. USA!